This is the Generation Report. In 1949, the Harvard historian Arthur Schlesinger Jr. published a book entitled The Vital Center: The Politics of Freedom. The book made two essential arguments. One, free societies were continually vulnerable to falling into totalitarianism. And two, a redoubled commitment to liberalism. The center, according to Schlesinger, was necessary to ward off totalitarianism and lead America through the Cold War. The Vital Center was certainly not the first attempt to correlate the preservation of American freedom with a single political philosophy. But published as it was just 4 years after the end of World War II and the introduction of the atomic bomb, it absolutely signaled a raising of the stakes. And near the end of the book, Schlesinger gave this declaration: "The center is vital. The center must hold. But even the most favorable social arrangements cannot guarantee individual virtue, and we are far yet from having solved the social problem." In November 1963, the day before President Kennedy was assassinated, the Columbia historian Richard Hofstadter presented a lecture at Oxford University entitled The Paranoid Style in American Politics. That lecture formed the basis for an essay by the same title that ran in Harper's Magazine in November 1964, as well as a more extended version in a book of Hofstadter's essays published in '65. In the latter essay, after painting a clear portrait of who he considered the typical paranoid spokesman, Hofstadter had this to say about the mindset behind the paranoia he was describing. Since what is at stake is always a conflict between absolute good and absolute evil, nothing but complete victory will do. Since the enemy is thought of as being totally evil and totally unappeasable, he must be totally eliminated, if not from the world, at least from the theater of operations to which the paranoid directs his attention. More than 50 years after the peak of their influence, Schlesinger and Hofstadter's works are still cited for how instrumental they were in shaping American politics. Unfortunately, their arguments had two major flaws. First, they gave essentially zero recognition to the decision-making capacity of ordinary Americans. Second, and perhaps just as importantly, they presumed that the fears and behavior patterns that could threaten American freedom from within were characteristic of others, faults which their own partisans were conveniently exempt from. Never in recent memory have these flaws been as transparent as they are right now. The paranoid style once attributed to the fringes of the extreme right is now highly reminiscent of the fear and invective coming from the mainstream and the political establishment today. And as for the concept of a vital center, it's been exposed for what it was from the beginning, a talking point used to assert a permanent claim on political and moral high ground. The trouble with permanent claims on political and moral high ground is that they're permanent. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy this series, please like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share both with as many people as you can. I'm Paul Zimi Finn. May God bless America.